Hi guys, how you doing and welcome to my channel, Claire Thackeray. Today is the 10th of January 2023 and we're going to talk about the lower self and the higher self, and I've got some books to share with you as well because I've had a few questions in about books that may be helpful, so I'll get to that in a minute. The reason why I'm doing this video is off the back of last week's channeling with Boleyn, where she was talking about the present incarnations at this time, or some of their present incarnations at this time. And in the research up to the time that I spent with Anne before I go on camera, she pointed me to something again on Instagram. She's into social media actually. Very much like her present counterparties. So anyway, she drove me to this post about the lower self and the higher self. And I was like, oh, yeah, interesting. But it was such a vast subject, and I thought, I'm not going to be able to fit it in that video. Otherwise, we'd still be sat here now, and it would be part 36, part 37, part 38. So I thought I'd do the channeling, and then have a break, and then we'll come in and we'll do this today. So, and something very different, I've decided to bring a cup of tea into today's session. Me and my husband, Gary, all our cups are actually from the places that we've visited. So anywhere we visit, if there's a cup shop with a picture on of the seaside or the coast or a name, or if we go visit a big house somewhere, depending on what that big house is and the energy behind that big house. If it's a nice big house with nice energy, we'll buy a nice cup. If it's not, we won't buy a cup, but we probably won't get round the big house. Anyway, moving on. So I thought I'd bring some tea. I actually drink Yorkshire. Can you see that how I like it? Yorkshire tea. I actually like builder's tea. I do have herbal teas, fruit teas, immunity teas, shamanic teas, green teas, chamomile tea. I have chamomile tea every night in bed when I'm reading, sharing a little bit about myself. But my go-to brew, Yorkshire brew, during the day is Yorkshire tea. And I buy it in bulk, okay? I also drink coffee. I drink one cup. I'm just trying to make sure I don't spill it. I drink 1 cup of coffee during the day. And we have a cappuccino machine, so I have proper creme de la creme coffee, because I am a coffee snob. So yeah, I have a proper coffee, 1 proper coffee once a day, around about 3 o'clock. Anyway, do you know I'm going to be doing a Q&A soon? So I might talk about that at the end of this video. So getting on with today's video, I'm going to share these books before we go into the video. So I've had a few emails about books that we can get, or that you can get, on spirituality, healing, shamanism, tarot. My advice is there isn't a book. There's not a, I used to think this, there's going to be a book on shamanism, a book on tarot, or a book on angels. As far as books are concerned, this is a technique that I use. I'll go on something like Amazon or an independent, I do independent booksellers, or I'll go into a bookshop and I'll take my guides and I'll say, guide me to a book on healing, mental health, spirituality, shamanism, anything. Sometimes they'll guide me and sometimes it's not the right time for the book. And I'll get guided because I'll see something on a shelf, either on an online shelf or a shop shelf, and I can't walk away from it. And usually that's the book that I need to buy, okay? I read a book, what I call my workbook, every day. Well, not every day. Well, I try to every day. I'm an avid reader, so I've always got a novel on the go. I have had a book on the go since I could learn to read. I have never, ever, ever gone without having a book to read until the day I learned to read. So I'll have a novel on the go that I'll read in bed on a night, on a morning, at lunchtime sometimes, but I also have a workbook, because with anything you do the courses, but then you've got to top up, and my guides like me to top up and keep pushing your brain, keep pushing your thoughts, keep bringing in different energies, different perspectives, different teachings, because the more that we can learn, the more that we can grow. So the one that I'm reading at the minute, you can see my bookmark, is called Shaman, Healer, Sage, How to Heal Yourself and Others with the Energy of the Americas. And it's by Alberta Villodo. Alberta Villodo is really good. So I mean, I'm not too far into this, but his book, his cards, he works with Colette Baron Reid too. So yeah, he's a good shamanic book I've just read, and I've recommended it on here before, is Spirit Hacking by Shaman Durek. So Shaman Durek, and Durek is spelled D-U-R-E-K. Any books I mention in this video, any cards that I use, and this is for all videos, were always in the description. So if I use a deck that you like, or a book that you like, or a spray, or I recommend a TV pro, or whatever, it's always in the description. So I'm reading that at the minute, because I do like to read different perspectives of shamanism. So I've always got a workbook on the go, and I read that about, as I get into bed each night, I'll read about half an hour of that each night. Got a little routine going on, honestly shocking. Or between clients, I'll have a read of that. Okay, so these are my buys that I've got my book hauls for work, plus a novel that I'll share with you that was recommended on here. These next 1, 2, 3, 4 books came as a set that I got off Amazon. The Celestial Prophecy and Adventure by James Redfield. All these will be put below so you can have a look at them on Amazon. But these came as a set, okay? So I'm thinking if you go onto Amazon, and this is all I typed in was the Celestial Prophecy, and all of these came up, and they came in as a book, all in the same cling film type thing, yeah? So the Celestial Prophecy. The Celestial Prophecy, The Secret of the Shambhala, In Search of the 11th Insight. I haven't got the time to read what they're all about. I've not read these yet, so I'm not saying that they're good, but I have heard that they're brilliant. The 10th Insight, Holding the Vision, Further Adventures of the Celestial Prophecy by James Redfield. Is it Redfield? Yes, James Redfield. Okay. If you miss any of these, description or the comment section. And the 12th Insight, The Hour of Decision, like book 4 of the Celestial Prophecy. Okay. I've also got this book. This has just been delivered as well, which is a totally different book. Again, it's not one I've read. It's on my bookshelf to read. I've got loads waiting to be read. The Crossover Experience, Life After Death, A New Perspective by Dr. Kadagian, with Dr. Pim Van Lommel and Gregory Shushan, PhD. Okay, so that's the Crossover Experience. Yeah. And if you've missed any of these, because I've gone through them quite quick, it's all in the description. And wait for it, I think quite a few of you will be getting your mitts on this, if not those books. One of you recommended this. Threads, The Reincarnation of Anne Boleyn by Nell Gavin. And again, Amazon came in with ease, okay? And I will read the back of this for you. In 1536, in 1536, a woman dies and the story begins. In 1536, Henry and Anne are at the mercy of influences outside of their control, right? Explosively incompatible and caught in a marriage that ends in betrayal, so shocking that Anne requires lifetimes to recover. Henry, seemingly in defence of Anne, but more likely acting out of stubborn perseveranceness, sorry, the word, I've said that wrong, I know I've, she observes, terrorises England. I tell you what, a few of you feel terrorised now by that book, don't you? I'm going to do that weekend. See how it repeats itself? I'm sorry. Terrorises England and decrees widespread political murder in order to protect her. You see, there's a reason why I'm reading this. In order to protect her, ultimately, to Anne's horror, this once passionate husband turns on her and has her executed as well. Threads, a reincarnation fantasy, opens with Anne's execution. Her fury at her husband's betrayal has enough momentum to survive centuries. But in Threads, she learns that she has been assigned a hard task. She must review their history together through a number of past lives and find it within herself to forgive him. This may prove difficult and take some time. I am literally going cold. That's not in the words at the back. The husband in question is Henry Tudor, the notorious Henry VIII. The narrator is the stubborn, volatile Anne Boleyn, who is not at all inclined to forgive. It is a very unusual love story. Oh, I bet there's a few of you clicking right now as I'm finished saying you're going to get this. Even like saying the back of that, you can see why we've got what we've got now with the present Henry and Anne. What chapter have I just? Roses and... Oh, I literally opened it up on Roses and Rain. We've got rain today. England today. I don't know if this is any other part of the world, but literally torrential rain today in England. And I feel as though there's a big cleansing energy coming for that. So let's have a slurp of tea and let's get on talking about today's video, which is higher self versus lower self. Try not to slurp. I don't think I'm a slurper. I don't like slurp. I don't like slurpers, but I get triggered by slurpers. It's like if I hear somebody eating, winds me up. It's an actual illness, that actually. So let's get on with the video. We all have it. We all have the higher self. We all have the lower self. We talk about the higher self all the time. All the time in spiritual communities. The lower self, I suppose you can say it's the ego, so maybe we call it the ego, but do we actually call it the lower self? Because ego can be a good thing, because we need a little bit of ego to get us through life. You need an ego to get you to a job interview. You need an ego for a first date. It's when ego becomes the more ensuing energy. Lower self, in order to go on the awakening journey and in order to be on the journey of life, we need both the lower self and the higher self. We can't just have the higher self. The lower self has to be there as well, because actually in order to get to the higher self, we have to be able to drop down into the lower self. And this is how I describe it to clients. When you're going through a low stage in your life, yeah, and you feel as though you're down there, well, what my guides show me at this is, you know, when somebody jumps and they want to jump really high, so they crouch down and spring up. Think about somebody on a trampoline. They really want to go for it, so they go right down like a child, right down, boom, and they jump up. And that is why we need the lower self. But we don't want the lower self. We just want to be there. Why would we come to earth with a lower self and a higher self? Because we need both. We need both. Because earth was set up as a school. So when we come to earth and we say, why is there so much going on this earth that's dark, there's this, there's that? That's like going into a school and saying, why are we doing lessons? Why are we not just playing? Because it's a school. So earth is a school. But earth at the minute is going through the awakening. So when every soul reincarnates on this earth, throughout our life, from the day we draw our first breath to the day that we draw our last breath, we are fluctuating between lower and higher self. So say you may start off as a baby, and what I'm hearing is as a baby, you're completely higher self because you've just come down, right? Before I go any further, lower self isn't a demon or an entity. It's another aspect of you. It's ego, it's addiction, I'm hearing self-importance, it's fear, it's phobia, it's I'm not good enough, it's anxiety, it's overwhelm, it's making that wrong decision, as in, say you go on a date and you think, you know what, I'm going to take it to the next level on this date, and maybe it's the first date. Maybe that is your lower self. That's your lower self coming in. But you go on that date, you've made a decision to take it to the next level, you've gone back to their place, you wake up the next morning and you're like, I wish I'd not done that, because you've operated from your lower self. But this is the magic. The next time you go on a date, what your higher self wants you to do is go, right, think about that time the lower self came in and made that decision and how low you felt. And then what the higher self wants you to do is go, I'm not going to do that next time. In fact, next time I'm going to be a bit more choosy of who I go out with, because actually it wasn't just me in that situation. There was this freaky chemistry going on that somehow I lost my senses and I made that decision. So the next date you go on, you're in your higher self. You're going to get dressed up, you're going to go out, but you're going to go out walking straight with your back held straight, with your head held high, and you're going to meet somebody as an equal. and you're going to put the lower self, because you had to bounce down into the lower self to go up into the higher self. And it could be that maybe you don't like the way you look, so you go on a date and you put awful clothes on and you don't actually do anything with yourself, and you just plod in, and it's not going to happen anyway. I'm this, I'm that, I've got scars, I've got trauma, I've got lots of notches on my bedpost, I've got this, I'm not worthy. So you go into the date and you're in the lower self, and then you come to the end of the day, and or it could be that he or she messes you about, you end up in a narcissistic relationship, you end up being cheated on, you end up in a really yada 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 yada. And then you recover from that, be it a day, be it a year, be it a lifetime, be it a month, be it whatever, a week. And then you want to start dating again. So then you go up into the higher self, because you went down into the lower self. You're now going to go up into the higher self. That's what we're meant to do. But on earth, sometimes it can be lower self, 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 lower self. And then we might go higher self, even higher self, even higher self. And that's not saying that good decisions are higher self and bad decisions are lower self. Because what is a bad decision? What is a good decision? Because actually, in order to go high, in order to actually go on that date and come from it in a form of empowerment and sovereignty, you have to go into the lower self. So technically, every decision we make is a good decision. Even if you've gone down the avenue of drugs, or if you've gone down the avenue of any form of addiction, or you've gone down the avenue of victimhood. And this is what Spirit always say. Whatever you've done in your life, at whatever stage you're at in your life, does you see how this is related into what Anna was trying to say about where their present incarnations are? Spending a lot of time in lower self, but also being able to go up into higher self. If I got everybody in the world in this room now, okay, you would find that a certain percentage absolutely adore those people, and they're their icons. They look up to them, they love them, right? They're amazing. There'll be another bunch of people that are hugely triggered, can't stand them, and throwing the rotten tomatoes. And then there'll be those in the middle. It's all true. It's all true. And this is the same with us, and people take it away from that. This is the same with us and other people. And that's why you come across situations in your life where you may really be triggered by somebody, or maybe you've seen something really dark, or maybe they've done something really dark to you. And you'll be talking about, or they'll come up in conversation, and somebody will say, oh, I really like them. Do you know, once they did this really amazing, and you might be sat there thinking, they once cheated on me, or they once did this to me, or they once shouted at me, or they once belittled me. And yet this person here is saying they did this really kind. What's wrong with me? Who are they? They're good. And you can be really confused. The truth is, it's all true. It's just a different aspect of their personality. And I'm going to talk more about them in Saturday's video when I've read the book. But again, bring it back to our present us, okay? There's all aspects. We are multi-dimensional human beings. And the analogy I was shown earlier was, when I channeled, for those of you new on here, I once channeled Peter Sutcliffe, who was a serial killer. And I was shown him, as I was getting ready for this video, as an example, who embodied evil acts, pure evil acts against women, and in some cases men also, vulnerable men. Could go out on a night and to do what he did, murder, because that's what he did. But at the other side of the coin, he actually used to give women workers a lift home so they wouldn't get attacked. I know, it's sick. But what I'm trying to say is, or he would have gone into a shop and something really kind. People actually stepped forward at the time and said, God, he used to do this for me. God, he was so kind. God, he was so gentle. God, he was one of the quietest ones in the street. God, he used to always talk to me at the gate when I walked past him. God, he used to, I used to have a right laugh with him in the pub. I can't believe it's him. And then you'd get, obviously, the things, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm bringing that into it. You can, and we are everything. And I think that's really important to remember on this journey, that we are one switch away from debauchery. We are one switch away from enlightenment. We are one switch away from making a huge, catastrophic mistake. We are the same one click away from changing this world. Does that make sense? Let's have another slurp of tea. Are you all drinking a cup of tea or coffee? Oh, I hope I'm not slurping. I'll be dead embarrassed. Does that make sense? So when we look at people, one of the things we should try to do is look at people, higher self, lower self. And this is people, this is ourselves as well. Because actually, a good indication to see where we're at is how we view the external. They're bad, they're good. They're amazing, they're evil. We actually will be viewing ourselves like that. We will. And that's how we destroy ourselves, and that's how we don't heal ourselves. So how we should be looking at people is higher self, lower self. And this is everything. This is world disasters as well. There will be a higher self to a world disaster, and there will be a lower self to a world disaster. This is stuff in your, yes, even abuse. There will be higher self teachings, higher self clearing, higher self enlightenment, higher self knowledge needed, but there will also be lower self stuff coming up, and lower stuff, lower karma. You see, I'm being drawn into karma now. We can have the higher karma and we can have the lower karma. It's a vast subject. I pulled some cards for us earlier and I thought they were amazing. I'm gonna shuffle on camera as well from the Wild Harmonic Oracle. And the card I got was Unfolding Path, Earth. Unfolding Path, Earth of Fire. Yes. So Unfolding Path, Earth of Fire. It's an unfolding path we're on. I've done this, and this is why I know how it hurts, how we beat ourselves up as human beings. If you think throughout the whole day, higher self, lower self, higher self, lower self, we're stuck in traffic. Oh my God, I'm sick of this, lower self. Yay, traffic's going, I can get to my destination. Higher self, get into the room. Oh God, Carol's there that I don't really like, or Sandra's there that I don't really like, or Mavis is there that I don't really like. Oh, lower self, higher self. And throughout the day, you know when people say I've been like that, oh, up and down all day, up and down all day. Or it could be that you've been up all day. You may have been up for years. You may have been up for months. But even if you think you have, there will have been moments that you will have also been low. And I think it's about making peace with the highs and the lows. And this is also about feelings as well. And this may be a bit of a controversial bit, but it's the same with depression. I've had depression in the past. Anxiety. This may be another video that needs to do on depression. Depression is actually, I want to say, quite a celestial event in our lives, because depression actually requires us to step back. And what happens when we step back? We heal. We go within. We're forced to look at ourselves. Depression gives us the opportunity to look at that trauma, that illness, that disease within our world, within our life, to heal it, to release it, to make peace with it. So lifetime after lifetime is the unfolding path. And this card was intuitive navigation, being comfortable with the choppy seas of our life, being comfortable with the good days as well as being comfortable with the bad days as well as the good days. Being comfortable with all your past, the times you took that thing, drank that thing, ate that thing, slept with that thing, slept with that person, had that relationship, stayed out too late, maybe thought that bad thought, had that affair, thought about having that affair, that the abuse you suffered, the abuse you gave, if you've also been abused, everything. And I think once we make peace with the higher self, the lower self, we then can start to work in harmony with both. And when we find ourselves in a low mood, a low part in our life, or we've made a low decision, or we've had a flip out and a low reaction, we then can go stop straight away. It's like, stop. I know what this is. It's fine. Bounce back up. And the more you do it, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. To a point you can go, oh, she's a right cow. Oh, God. And we can be everything at the same time. So So I'm going to pull some cards for the lower self, and this is the Wild Unknown Archetypes by Krans, and it's a circular deck. So I want to see what the lower self looks like. What does the lower self look like? I'll pull a card from each deck, eh? Lower self, please. Lower self, lower self. Oh, what does the lower self look like? Remembering what I've just been talking about. The mentor. The mentor. The lower self is the teacher. We actually think of the higher self as a teacher. Is it a teacher? But it's not the only teacher. The father at the bottom of the deck, light and dark, the father, masculine. Oh, so is the lower self the masculine energy? And that's not about men. I'm talking about the energy, the frequency, and the higher self is the feminine energy, the gentle yin and yang, okay? Yin and yang. So the lower self is here to teach us. So that's all the traumas, the mistakes, the addictions, the crazy stuff, the illnesses, the trauma, the everything. It's a teacher. It's where we get our wisdom from. Another card for the lower self, please. Another card for the lower self. Oops. Lower card for the lower self. Ooh, what's this? Spectral. Oh, that's Metatron, isn't it? It looks like Metatron's cube. Air of Celestial. Spectral maps. It's the map. It's the map back to the higher self. What's this? Bleeding together. Birthing. Birthing. When we go into low, dark times or low, dark aspects of who we are, bad reactions, whatever, that is the teaching time. That is actually when we're birthing. You think about birthing a baby and she's screaming and she's sweating and sometimes she messes herself, etc. And it all comes open and there's all that gunk and blood and stuff. It's all blood, sweat and tears. But look at this, from that to this, I can't do it, and probably shouting at people, maybe having a go at the man next to her, etc. Or woman, you know, I don't know. To all of a sudden within bang a second. I'm not saying it takes a second to have a baby. I'm saying you can go from that to oh, and you go into extreme joy and extreme, yeah. Let's take a slurp of tea. And now we're going to use the Japaridze Tarot by Nino Japaridze. It's actually Japaridze Tarot. Nino Japaridze. So one card for the lower, ooh, that sprung out. One card for the lower self. Six of Tides. Six of Tides. What's at the bottom? Six of Winds at the bottom. So this, what is the lower self? The lower self takes us back to where it all started. The lower self takes us back to the traumas, the present traumas, the past life traumas, the karmic traumas, the generational traumas. The lower self isn't here to scare us or to frighten us or to hold us back. The lower self actually wants to show us how to play again. It's almost as though we force it. It has to come out in order to show us how far away we have come from ourselves and source. Does that make sense? Of course it does, Claire. We're going to do some cards for the lowest, for the higher self. One card for the higher self. I might call this video Higher Self versus Lower Self, because people like a bit of verses. Think of the world we're in now. People love verses. A versus B, you know, well, we're in for that. Just to get their attention, to get them in, and then explain. Right, higher self. What is the higher self? Show me the higher self. One card for the higher self on this deck, please. The shuffle. Oh, it's a lovely deck, but it's a pain to shuffle. Higher self. Oh, Venom. Interesting. The bridge. Do you know what I thought when I saw that? Spiritual ego. The spiritual ego and narcissism that's out there at the minute. The higher self, you know, all that kind of, you know, man, I'm just my highest, I'm operating from my constant higher self. And they look down on low vibe people, and that's such a low vibe attitude. And oh my God, man, you're just so low vibe. And I'm just amazing. I'm always in my higher self. And I just love being, and it's all higher self. It's all amazing. It's all magical. It's actually become a venom. It's become a venom. It's actually become, something beautiful is becoming distorted. Oh, that's an interesting card. We need to get back over the bridge to what the higher self really is. That the higher self has another aspect, which is the lower self. That actually everyone has a higher self, and everyone has an opportunity throughout every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every month, every year, every lifetime to operate from the higher self. Oh, I'm just the chosen one. I always operate from my higher self. No, you don't. They've got the card of the village as well. Higher self. Enjoying it. Ooh, higher self. Cast about. And what I'm getting with this is too many people are focusing on the higher self. You know, every day of our lives we get things wrong. We eat the wrong things. We may not do as we should do. We may meditate, not at all. We may just meditate for 5 minutes. Well, actually, the whole higher self thing is sending people off their alignment. Star-crossed. Star-crossed. We need to come back to basics. We need to come back to humbleness and humanity. We have a higher self, but we also have a lower self. And this energy of, I'm just going to operate from my higher self. You can't just operate from your higher self. You need the lower self as well. Everything is part of who we are. Every situation, every event, be it that, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh, I like this video. One card for the lower, for the higher self. See, shamans go into the dark to bring out the light. That's the job of the shaman. And that is my answer to everything right for this video. In order to get the light, you have to go into the dark. Because how do you know what the light looks like if you can't dance in the dark? The tower. The tower. So the higher self is the tower, judgment. We need to step away from this judgment that we've got within the spiritual community of higher self. Higher self, higher self, higher self. We just want to be at the higher self. My higher self. What's my higher self wanting me to do right now? What's my higher self wanting me to do right now? What's your lower self wanting you to do right now? Maybe you need to go into something low in order to spring up. Is this making sense? It is, isn't it? And many people are putting way too much pressure on themselves, finding that it's impossible to stay constantly in your higher self. It's impossible to stay constantly up there. So what they go is, can't do spirituality, can't do healing, can't do awakening, can't do ascension, I'm shit. What do I do? It's all fakery. We're seeing a lot of that at the minute. They're all fake. All healers, readers, they're all fake because I can't stay at my higher self. There's nothing wrong with you. We're not meant to stay at the higher self. We're meant to fluctuate. We always need the lower self. If you change how we view every mistake, every trauma, every illness, every bad thing we go through, experience, witness in the world within ourselves, internal world, external world and global world. If we stop looking at that as bad and good and look at it as school, right? This is a school, this is a lesson. It changes the game. It changes the game. How can we have a healthy higher self? Healthy. How can we have a healthy relationship with higher and lower self? We have to go into the cave. We have to go into the cave. The mentor at the bottom. We have to go into the cave. We have to be comfortable with the days that we have a rant and a rave. We have to be comfortable with our past and not just, oh, when I did that in 2002, oh, I don't look at that. Be comfortable with all of it. Be comfortable with all of it. Dive into the cave of who you are, because you're not going to be the only one there. Everyone. I'm seeing you walk into that cave and you're like, oh, this is just going to be me in this cave. We're all there. Everyone's there. You have to have a healthy relationship with the higher and the lower self. Let me know in the comments what you think to this video. Look at this as well. Do you see what I can't read this card. I'm having to got that higher self, lower self, higher self, lower self. Celestial of spirit. But look at this. He's diving into the abyss. He's going to be he or she. They're diving down, but there's hands ready to catch them. Up, down, down, up, down, up. Celestial of spirit. Leap of faith. What do you do when you leap? I'm in a bad moment, I'm in a bad time, we're in a bad time globally, but I know we're going down to come back up. Oh, yes. Interesting. Japaridze Tarot. Relationship. How to have a healthy relationship with higher and lower self, please. One card. The Chariot. The Chariot. Temperance, balance. Temperance is all about balance, balancing the emotions. This is the Four of Wands, which would be the Four of Cups in the traditional tarot, which is when an opportunity comes in. Everything that happens to us in justice as well there. Everything that happens to us in our lives, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I should know because I've experienced so much of it, is there to teach us something. It's there to help us clear something. It's there to help us heal something. The good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything. It's all part of Earth School. It's all part of your personal curriculum on Earth School, and it's all needed. Let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed this video. Flicking my eyelashes. The next video I will be doing on here will be a channeling with James Herriot, Alfred Wright. His pen name was James Herriot, so if you search for him, he'll come under 2 different names. He wrote the series of books, James Herriot, All Creatures Great and Small. He was a Yorkshire farmer, born in Scotland, trained in Sunderland, went to live in Yorkshire, Thirsk in Yorkshire, and he's from the pre-war era, and he passed in 1995, and from what I remember, he was working up until 90, he was active till 92, and he is what you'd call a traditional kind gentleman, so he will be bringing in some good frequencies, and I think we need these frequencies. I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be an uplifting channeling. He's obviously a vet. He was a vet. He's going to be talking about Reiki with animals, Reiki with veterinary care. He's going to be talking about some of the concerns he's got with animal welfare at the minute and some of the ways we can work around that. He's going to be talking about pets. He's going to be talking about his work over in the afterlife. He's going to be talking about his life as it was. It's not going to be a gossipy video at all. This is a totally different frequency. It'll be very much like the Bram Stoker one. And I think there'll be some surprises up his sleeve because I think he's going to bring some things about awakening, about animals and the role of animals. And there's some nice surprises coming with that. You'll probably be able to read all the books before I do it, but yeah, you can go and Google him, James Herriot, if you're from abroad and not sure of him. They're redoing it at the minute with All Creatures Great and Small on Channel 5. So that it's feel-good telly. It's not toxic, it's not dark, it's not manipulative. The books are the same, they're feel-good, heartwarming stuff. So there's none of it, there's no toxicity, there's no darkness, there's none of that. So look out for that. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. So when I do that, and it'll probably go out, let me think, Thursday, Friday. So that's James Herriot, Alfred Wright. Okay. So if you're into your animals, I think he's going to be talking about veganism as well and vegetarianism. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Future of, honestly, loads. Future of animal care. How the earth is affecting animals at the minute and what we can do with that. We was talking about crystals this morning. What amazes me is that it was a man that was before this all started with crystals and Reiki, and now we talk about giving Reiki to animals, and he was before all that. So yes, magic. The spare tarot and energy root, the spare and Harry's interview with Tom Bradbury, I will be trying to do that on Saturday. I'm not jumping in. I'm not having a knee-jerk reaction to that book or to that interview this week. I'm going to read the book and I'm going to finish it. I've watched the first part of the interview. I'm watching the second tonight. I'm not knee-jerking. I'm not knee-jerking for anybody. I'm not going to do it. There's too many people knee-jerking out there. And also as well, I'm a great believer. I can't come on here and do a video about a book until I've read it. There's no way I'm going to do a read on a book that I've not read. Okay? So we'll hopefully be getting that up at the weekend. Thanks for watching. If you've got to the end of this video, I'm going to do the emoji thing that I did for a while and then stopped doing it. Could you send me a rainbow emoji in the comments with the intention of sending higher and lower self-healing out into the universe? Okay, so if you've got to the end of this video and you want to send some healing out, press the rainbow emoji so I know who's got to the end and we can send some light out there. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye. And the books, the cards, everything in the description, in the comment section also. If you want to book a session with me, my website is below. The next group healing is the 7th, 8th and 9th of February, which is Healing Heartbreak. There's a video below in the description, in the comment section. Again, to take part, you go to my website, and yes, I do readings. Global readings via Zoom, and I do distance healing work as well and mentoring work. My website's below. See you later. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye.